Well, first off, to start, I would like to say that we are all part of the In Session Film family, so you can find Chasing the Gold in the same In Session Film. So we're at whatever brought you here. Chasing the Gold is
Mhm.
also there. So
Yes.
feel free to listen. I do have to give a plug for my
Mhm.
child. I don't know
Yep.
the progeny pod of the In Session Film pod. I don't know what you call it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, you
it
guys do
is
great work over there.
a real privilege to get to do that. But
Mm.
no, JD, I mean, I genuinely think this is 2025 was just an incredible year. And there are some, shall we say, dark gray spots in the nominations, which we can get to. But overall, I think they're really solid. I mean, if we end up with a Best Picture winner, One Battle, Sinners, Hamnet, even Marty Supreme, I think all of those are really, really solid choices. I think there's some really
Agreed.
inspired nominations that show that the Academy is paying attention. Surratt in Sound, the great Delroy Lindo, and what 50-year career working with some legends across the industry, gets his first Oscar
Yeah, very
nomination.
exciting. Yeah.
Rose Byrne for a tiny movie that no one knew what was going to happen. The voice of
Mhm.
Hin Rajab, a very tiny international film for
Yeah.
Tunisia, getting in. So
Yeah.
I understand that there is negative discourse. We can get into all of that. Certainly some head scratcher nominations that I was disappointed in, but a lot to be excited for. I don't know if I'm just too
Yeah.
rosy cheeked and positive, but I'm not. I don't. I just think the doom and gloom, let's throw the Oscars away, is not the right mentality. Are there
Mm.
issues that need to be addressed? Absolutely. Are does there need to be more diversity? Do they need to make some changes to the rules? Do they need to get rid of the pay for play situation with the campaigning going on? 1,000%. Hire me to do it. I would happily do that. Okay. But I'm
Yeah.
not ready to just say the whole thing is rotten. Let's cancel them. Let's do away
Mhm.
with them. Awards are bad. This and that. I
Mhm.
refuse to engage in that. I think it's just
Mhm.
as equally as
Yeah.
toxic as just saying, you know,
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of that. I think there's a lot to love here. The Oscars, the Academy, there are things to fix and address for sure. Things that should have been addressed decades ago probably should be remedied. However, on the whole, I do think there's a lot to love here. The Academy has changed drastically since 2016. We have seen that not only in terms of who is in the Academy now and who is voting on these awards, but it's been indicative of the nominations and the wins themselves and how that has evolved over the last 10 years. There's no doubt that the Academy's tastes have evolved. And I would argue for the better. And this year's crop of nominations is among some of their very best work on the whole. And to your point, yes, there are some nominees here that leave a lot to be desired. But on the whole, I think they did a great job. One battle after another, Sinners, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, Hamnet, all of those are in my personal top 10. I love them all. And it doesn't always work out that four of my personal top five are also Best Picture nominees. That's actually quite rare, but it very much aligned for me this year. And I really do think those are great movies. Those are deserving of their Best Picture nominations. 16 nominations for Sinners, a record I think is astounding. And I think that film is a full on masterpiece. I think it is great. It's Ryan Coogler's best film to date, in my opinion. And for that film to be nominated down the board in so many great categories, I think is fantastic. It's wholly deserved. According to some of my mentions and the YouTube comments, those aforementioned YouTube comments we got over the weekend, not everyone agrees that Sinners is that great, but I do. I do think it is really great. It was my number 3 movie of the year, but my top 3 are a bit interchangeable. I could put Sinners at number 1 and not lose any sleep at all. I think it is great. And now we have a race, and that is maybe the most exciting thing about where we are now. A few months ago, maybe even a month ago, most people would chalk Best Picture and Director up to Paul Thomas Anderson in One Battle After Another. But now Sinners is very much in this race. It's very much a coin toss, and that is very exciting because it doesn't always happen that way. We know who's going to win Best Picture months in advance. It felt like with Oppenheimer, we knew. We all knew what was going to happen that year. So it's exciting that while I would love to see Paul Thomas Anderson win, I would love to see One Battle win Best Picture. But if Sinners was to surprise and take that home, maybe it wouldn't even be a surprise. I think it would be something we would all understand and maybe even see coming. So the fact that we have this race and it's two films that I think are wholly deserved of that award, that's exciting. I do think that the Academy did a great job of putting themselves in a position to really win this year with their with all these awards and what they nominated.
Yeah, to your point, it's extremely rare to be in a position where there's two or three films that could potentially win, where we would all go, yes, that's a solid Best Picture winner.